This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, more WWE releases, but did they go too far this time? Large outcry from fans. We had a special appearance on NXT. This is your Money in the Bank Go Home podcast, as well as AEW gave us 4 hours of wrestling on a Wednesday. Did they go too far? Because we got another 4 hours coming up next week. We're going to break it all down, sort it all out, have a great conversation, and we're going to give you our predictions for Money in the Bank. Helping me do it all. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. Some would say he is the truth of this podcast.
That's right, cuz. And some people would say some can't handle the truth, and we're here to deliver it. What we think about WWE, what they're doing, how they're moving forward, the moves that they're making. They're taking a lot of negative PR hits. And this last month reminded me of like maybe a couple hundred episodes ago when we were just complaining about Vince, the direction of the company, the lack of stories. I'm shocked. After WrestleMania, you kind of wanted that rebuild of some stories, and it feels like WWE is kind of taking some steps back. And now AEW has picked up the ball and said, oh, we noticed what's going on, and they're starting to put together dream matches. And the card for All In, I mean, you just have to go see it. You have to see this card, no matter what, even if the stories aren't there because of the level of matches. So I can't wait to break it all down this week. It was a crazy week. I'm excited for Money in the Bank. It's going to drop tonight, so you can hear the preview and check it all out. But my God, cuz this was a wild-ass week of wrestling with rumors, with speculation, with talks about Triple H's future. There's been so much shit to talk about. My goodness, let's get into it. I'm excited. I'm fired up for this Saturday.
Yeah, I want to save the rumors and speculation part for the back end because that kind of ties in with some of the releases that happened. There's a lot going on, like you said, with WWE. I do, during the news and notes segment, I do want us to have a bit of a conversation about different things going on with WWE, not the typical, these are the news, this is the notes, these are some of the rumors that are taking place. I want us to actually have a little bit of a conversation there because it's a short news segment, but it's got a lot of stuff that ties in. So there's a couple different directions we can go with it, and I want to go there. I do want to start with WWE. I do want to start with what took place on NXT because the big news coming out of NXT this week was Mariah May finally showed up. Ooh. There had been rumors, there had been speculations that she was going to appear sometime soon. I didn't think it was going to be this week. I thought maybe it's going to be the next week or two. Reports are that she wanted to go to WWE the whole time she was in AEW. She finished up with Toni Storm, and then there wasn't a lot of communication between her and AEW after that. She basically had her heart set on going to WWE. The main goal was to go to WWE. It sounds like AEW and a couple of other places offered her quite a bit of money, but the whole thing was the way it sounds is she kind of played AEW to get herself to WWE, and it worked out glowingly for her. Showed up. We don't have a name for her yet. The reference was that everything just got a little bit more glamorous for NXT. I wanted to get your take on Mariah May showing up in NXT this week and then laying down the challenge that she's coming for the NXT women's title.
Yeah, I disagree with some of the internet saying it's a downgrade. I think that there's a great opportunity to feature her, introduce her to the WWE audience. They know who she was, and I think there's opportunities now. The one thing, though, that's difficult is I'm not so certain I like the idea of AEW stars going right from AEW to NXT. I think Ethan Page, Ricky Starks, probably Mariah could have started on the main roster. Like, really, do they need all that much time? Maybe Jade Cargill set back the cause of AEW stars. Like, okay, we know what you guys do. We know that you're a star, but we kind of need you to kind of fine-tune your performance. I get that. But the first thing I thought of was, when I was watching SmackDown was Tiffy goes out there. I just wanted to hear Mariah's music. I was imagining, I was watching the segment. I know it's great with Rhea. I was just sitting there going, man, wouldn't it be great if Mariah just walked out there and said, I know our paths are not going to cross right now, but get ready. this Tiffy time nonsense is bullocks. It's over. And get ready. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow, but I'm going to be right around your shoulder. I'm going to be the devil on your backside. So get ready, and your era is over. And I just thought it would have been great. Like, I don't know what NXT. I get what it's going to do for Mariah. It's going to introduce her, get her some reps and some matches and some title runs, and kind of feel the flow. But I felt like she did enough at AEW to kind of warrant a main roster debut. But I get it. I get the sense of it. But it doesn't mean that you can't still have her. I mean, I know it's California and she's probably training and all that kind of fun stuff. But Mariah is a star. You want to look at her. And yeah, of course, I do think that AEW still benefited from having her. They had a dream match with Tony Storm, and you have
It was a great storyline.
Yeah, and no matter what, AEW knows it. It's not a secret that they're a company that people like. If you're into kind of like stability, you want to have opportunity to be friends with the booker, and you want a decent schedule and kind of have a little bit more leeway. But in the end, if you want to be number one, if you have any guts, if you got competition in your mind to be seen by the biggest audience that's already there, you go to WWE. Everybody says it. It's like it's the Super Bowl. It's the big leagues. It's AEW's getting there. They are a big deal with big time wrestlers. But the perception is, and the reality of it is, number one is WWE with the production, global scale, worldwide marketing. AEW is up and coming and is a startup. That's just the way it is. Now, will they compete? Will they make money? Do they have a chance? Yeah, but WWE is the holy grail of damn near the wrestling business. And so everybody wants that. Everybody wants a taste, because when she showed up there, the whole internet blew up.
Yeah, and look, I think Mariah May's time in AEW was very beneficial to AEW. AEW, I think, had a fantastic champion. I think they had a fantastic storyline with Tony Storm. I think that helped catapult Tony Storm to where she's at now. And I would argue that she's the hottest thing in AEW, and she is definitely the best woman in AEW right now. She has the best storyline. So all of that kind of spiraled out of Mariah May showing up there and then working with Tony Storm to help kind of elevate that story. So I think that was fine. Her showing up in NXT, I will say this. I think it'll be fine. I think some of the people coming from AEW going to NXT, it makes sense to me. Look, you do have to realize the ropes are a little bit different. In AEW, they use the strict cables. In WWE, they use braided ropes, so you don't get as much of a spring. So doing some of the stuff off the top rope, sometimes it just doesn't look great, and sometimes running the ropes doesn't necessarily look great because you don't get the bounce that you get off the cables. But all of that can kind of be wrapped up in a weekend if we're being serious. I think her going down to NXT and some of these wrestlers coming over going down to NXT, it's just to show how WWE works and teach them how WWE works, because AEW runs a little bit different. It sounds like a lot of wrestlers in AEW have a lot of say in what goes on. WWE is becoming more like that, but still, WWE is still, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. This is how this is going to take place. We need you to go do X, Y, and Z. You want to fill in A, B, and C? Go ahead. But we need you to hit these marks, and you got to do this. And that's kind of where there's a little bit of a difference. So I get why they send her down. And I think her appearance on NXT, the segment that it was in, and with everything that was going on around that segment, to me, she didn't necessarily feel as special as she did when she was in AEW. And that's the issue I have. Now, I think a lot of this can be saved, and I think her going to WWE will be fantastic. I think WWE would do a lot of really, really good things. But she didn't, in those few moments, she didn't feel as special as she felt in AEW to me. And that's kind of where I think maybe the internet wrestling community kind of says what they say, and they get a little up in arms about this and that. I think it's going to be a fantastic move for her, and I think she's going to do a lot of great things in NXT. And I think a dream match would be her and Tiffany Stratton. I think that'd be fantastic. And I do like what you said. I think that would be great if she was out there, and then all of a sudden she came out there and interrupted that promo, and then you could have went on and did everything else you did for your 6-woman tag match. Like there were other ways to do it, but I understand them wanting to start her in NXT, and I understand where this is going to go. And I think it's probably the most beneficial for her now. Also, they'll probably end up doing something like they did with Julia and Stephanie Vacour, where she was down there for, They were down there for like 2 months, and next thing you know, they're headlining one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. So and look, I have a lot of thoughts on Stephanie Vacour and a lot of
Yep.
thoughts on Julia, and we'll get to that when we get to our Money in the Bank predictions. But I think they are in a fantastic spot, and I think they are going to be that next ushering in of women in WWE. So I like where they're headed. I like her going to NXT. I don't think she felt as important as she did in
Mm.
AEW, but I think there's times to rectify that. I think the timeline with Tony Storm and AEW for Mariah May was great for all parties.
See,
All
because
that being
listen,
said,
yeah,
go ahead.
I want to respect your maturity because I sent you a DM that was probably inappropriate in regards to the initial storyline, but there's not very many times where I think, man, Vince coming back would be great for wrestling, but in this situation, I'm not gonna reveal it, but let's just say,
I was gonna say, tip the hand, tell about it,
uh,
man.
uh,
Go ahead,
uh,
because I think it would be great.
uh,
I think you
uh,
could throw Tiffany Stratton in there too, and
right.
it would be amazing.
Yeah, the internet wrestling community right away was thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if Mariah May was involved in some like erotic segments with Alexa Bliss, and people were just like going
It
crazy
was
with it.
Liv Morgan.
Liv Morgan, sorry,
It was
yes,
Liv
yes.
Morgan,
Well,
yeah.
all of them, all the ladies, yes,
All of them. You said all of them.
exactly. Oh my God, think about it now. Mariah May is like this.
It's a wrestling orgy. Emphasis on
No,
orgy.
no, no. Mariah May is the wrestling player. Like she courts one lady, bags her, goes on to the next lady, and she's just like a chronic cheater. Oh my God, that'd be fucking hilarious. Oh my God, we just thought about this on the fly. We're taking it to the next level. She comes in and she goes through the division not as a performer, but as a psycho who just takes over their mental game and courts them, kisses all up on them, and then goes to the next one. And like each one's like in elementary school where she gets a new girlfriend every single week.
Dude, that would be great.
Vince would be
That
like,
would be
oh,
great.
oh my God, that was so funny. But okay, we'll get back to being professional here. But that was so funny. It was like the tweet was just an all timer. It was like, let's break the internet and see a lesbian angle between Mariah May and Liv Morgan. I was like, yeah, I would be. I was distracted. I was like, oh my God, that would be a wild thing. But listen, let's embrace her physicality and not her sexuality. Let's get your mind out of the gutter, IWC. Let's go. Let's be
Well,
better.
here's the thing, though. If you look at Mariah May, she was like 75% sexuality and like
Yeah,
20%
yeah.
physicality and
Yeah.
in ring stuff. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. It is what it is. But you did bring up Liv Morgan. I want to get your thoughts on this week's Monday Night Raw and this week's SmackDown. I thought Liv Morgan played a real nice role with the Judgment Day, and you can start to see some of the cracks and things kind of breaking away at the seams as she had a conversation with Finn Balor in the back, and she basically alluded to not trusting him. Finn said something along the lines of, don't worry about Dom. Everything's going to be okay. And she's like, look, Dom's not the one I don't trust. And she just kind of looked at Finn, and Finn's like, oh, okay, well, everything's going to be fine. You just gotta trust the process. Everything's going to be good. As she was complaining about Roxanne Perez being in the group. So I thought that was a really nice story overall for Money in the Bank. I thought Raw was very good. I thought SmackDown was much better of a go home show. Having the thread of Seth Rollins basically interrupting and destroying everybody who is competing in the men's Money in the Bank. I thought that was absolutely a fantastic story to be weaved throughout the program. You had the women's six woman tag match. I thought that was a fun tag match. Thought that was interesting. I thought what you got from these two shows this week really kind of helped lay the foundation and set everything up for what we're getting on Saturday.
Yeah, no doubt. It felt like, and we did it. We do a podcast every week called Doc and Jock, and we talked afterwards. And I said, "Oh man, Dynamite and NXT really put on good shows." It felt like it really did feel like the writers got their ass yelled at and be like, "Put together a fucking show that people are gonna like. Here's your talent, use it." And I just thought SmackDown answered the bell. I was like, "Holy crap!" You get Seth Rollins, you get the group, you get Penta, it was like Star Central. You get Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso. It was star laden, and you get L.A. Knight. You get the weaving of, I'm just gonna call him Jeff Cobb because that name is still so stupid to say out loud. I'm Jeff Cobb. You get a match with him. He looks already ready to be a superstar in WWE. You get the weaving of the storyline with Solo. I don't like his kind of like Guido kind of talk. He's like moving his head and back and forth. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like he looks at Seth Rollins and he's like, you think you're gonna run through the division? Like, no, no, no. He's like, I need him to be a little bit more serious, just a little bit more to take him more seriously because he's coming off as a youngster. Like, I need him to be a little bit more manly in his conversation. He's coming off as more slick, which is probably more his personality, but you got to be a little bit more in line with a badass. And I don't need you bobbing and weaving when you're talking like we're in the streets here. But I love the weaving of Jacob Fatu. And, bro, everybody was like, holy shit, Braun Breaker, Jacob Fatu. That little seed
Yeah.
was just planted, was like, yes,
That
yes.
was awesome.
Yeah, so SmackDown to me blew it out of the water. And then you had John Cena, who's just a natural. They were chanting for R-Truth, and he crushed it for the company. And look, we're going to talk about it and the outcry and everything, but for what John Cena did, he crushed it. Naturally just said, listen, guys, you can talk about this. This is how stupid you are. You can't handle it. And unfortunately, Logan Paul botched a little bit of the move, but he handled it well by slowing down and making faces. But, bro, that looked sweet. Logan Paul next to John Cena. I was like, man, this could be great for a year. Like, you need to add John Cena. Is Logan Paul the third guy? Cuz is Logan Paul the guy that The Rock is talking about? And then in my mind went to, man, Cody in that black suit looks pretty good. Could he be the third guy down the road? It was just a great SmackDown that lets you think about a lot of different things. Could Jey Uso be the third guy? Could there be another tie there? Could they go back to that situation and Jey Uso want to be the big time dog? So there's so many ways in which you could go from what SmackDown did. I would like there to be a turn this week. Would you make Jey Uso heel? Oh my God, it would be so spectacular. But it just SmackDown blew it out of the water. I thought Rhea Ripley coming out to talk to Tiffany felt big. It was just I thought SmackDown crushed it compared to Raw, no doubt about it. And it felt like the writers were given a challenge, like write a show that these people in California can get hyped. The buzz is not good, make it good. And I felt like the writers came through and was like, bang, 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 bang. 3 hours flew by. When it got to 10 o'clock, I was like, oh man, I want more.
Same. In that, I haven't been able to say that in a long time. Normally, I get to probably right around
9:05,
9:45, and I'm just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, but this time I was like, geez, we're already done. This was fantastic. So it was a really, really good show. You brought up Jacob Fatu. There's a lot of stuff going on around Jacob Fatu, right? You talked about him versus Braun Breaker and that seed being planted. There was a backstage segment where you've got Solo talking to JC Mateo, and basically he's like he's just gas. He's got no brains. He doesn't think. Don't worry about him. Everything's going to be okay, because Jacob Fatu ended up costing JC Mateo a match against Jimmy Uso, and JC was very, very upset. And you had Jacob Fatu looking very upset, leaving the ringside, and there was a lot of finger pointing going on. And he overhears this conversation. He kind of comes in, and you could tell that there's something like, this is not a good mix. There is going to be they're coming to a head very soon with what's going on in the Bloodline 2.0. You also talked about Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton. I thought that was such a great dynastic showing between these two, right? Like, these are two polar opposite people, and you can't get more opposite than Tiffany Stratton, who is all glamour, all glitz. She is a walking Barbie doll. And then you've got Rhea Ripley, who is just goth and punk, and she just kind of looks like she chews the back of cigarette butts off and then smokes cigarettes and blows smoke in your face. Like, it's just hard and angry and angular versus just soft, and it's just all pink and butterflies. And I thought those two being in the ring, just polar opposites, I thought was just fantastic to get the visual and to see. I thought that was really, really great. And then you had that 6-woman tag match, which we'll talk about here when we're going through our predictions. But I thought overall, you're right. SmackDown crushed it, knocked it out of the park. I thought it was really, really good. On Monday Night Raw, we did have the setup and the build for our Women's Intercontinental Championship match, which we're going to get on Money in the Bank. And that's going to be Lyra Valkyria defending against Becky Lynch. I do want to say this. As much as I've been out on Lyra Valkyria, and I haven't felt like she's felt important or she's meant a whole lot, this segment on Monday Night Raw was probably the first time where I kind of got a little bit behind her, and I was kind of like, okay, maybe you need to give this another chance. Maybe this could work. Maybe you just need to be better. I thought her and Becky Lynch going back and forth, I thought it was well done. Her seeming more like a person and less like somebody reading the script and just kind of going through the motions. I think this felt a little bit more real. That being said, I still have a hard time getting behind Becky Lynch when she's a heel. I don't feel like she's a very good heel. And maybe that's just because she's been a face for so long. And maybe it's because of everything that we've had with Becky Lynch. To me, her as a heel just doesn't necessarily seem to work well. Um, but we do have this match set up for Lyra Valkyria being challenged by Becky Lynch for the intercontinental title. Who do you think wins this? Does Becky Lynch finally take the strap off of Lyra Valkyria, or does Lyra Valkyria get another win over Becky Lynch?
Man, right? It's tough. I do think that you keep putting her over. I think you you already know what you have with Becky Lynch. I think you go with Valkyria. I think you have somebody that you're trying to build. What would it do? Like you look at it and you say, what would a loss do? I feel like I know the man wants to move forward and get her time and things like that, but it feels like it's time for the new era to kind of get some shine in my opinion.
I think so. You have Lyra already being one up. I think Becky wins this, gets the title, and then you have Valkyria chase until SummerSlam, and she can get the belt there, and that's where you have your blow off match. So I'm gonna have Becky Lynch win this to set up for a bigger program at SummerSlam, to have the culmination, to have the blow off match, to have Lyra come away with the title there. It gives Becky Lynch 2-ish months to kind of parade around that title, and it gives you 2 more months to kind of build story. You can kind of take Valkyria away for a little bit. You can maybe revamp her a little bit, and she can come back hungrier and angrier. So I'm gonna go Becky Lynch. I'll be honest, I got zero clue. I don't know. I to be honest with you, I kind of want to get out of this program, but like I said, I feel like I've got to give Lyra a bit more of a chance here because I feel like just now I'm maybe starting to come around to her a little bit more. So in order to keep it moving and to keep her growing, we're gonna put the belt on Becky and we'll see what good comes of it. I don't know. Again, this is one of those matches that I'm just really not at all invested in because I haven't been invested in it from the get-go, and I don't like Becky Lynch as a heel. So this is where we're at. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. Our next match, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso taking on John Cena and Logan Paul. Now, you brought it up. Cena cut an amazing promo after he and Logan Paul beat down Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. He was able to work in "This Is Our Truth" among other truth references. I thought he did a fantastic job of highlighting the crowd who was screaming for our truth and him basically turning it back around him. Like you said, this guy is a pro's pro on the microphone. I feel like if John Cena does nothing else with WWE for the rest of his life, they need to figure out a way to hire him either in NXT or in the back and let him teach mic skills because this guy is absolutely amazing and took stuff that wasn't supposed to be there and worked it. Just an amazing quick wit. Watching him on the microphone and then watching somebody like Tony Storm on the microphone in AEW, they are masters at what they do, and they're absolutely fantastic at working stuff in and getting it over, and you not even realizing. Paul Heyman's another one who's absolutely fantastic at it. I thought what John Cena did in this segment really helped sell this and really helped get this home. Now, more to your point, I do feel like there's going to be something wonky here. I do feel like there's going to be something odd with Jey Uso. I don't know if it's the turn. I don't know if that's what we're going to get. I don't know if there's going to be something with Gunther. Gunther did a really good job playing those mind games with Jey Uso, basically telling him, like, you're paying too much attention to other people, and now your body's paying for it, and that's just going to be prime pickings for me. Told him that on Monday. So I'm not sure if that leads to Jay turning on Cody. I don't know what we're actually doing with Cody Rhodes at this moment in time. I know he's locked in this storyline with John Cena. I don't know what the long-term booking is for it. I myself would love for the faces to go over here, but I think this is a spot where the heels get over. I'm going to go John Cena. I'm going to go Logan Paul.
Yeah, I do think it's more important for them. Like, look, Jay and Cody are baby faces, and sometimes you got to do heel shit. So I'm going all Hollywood. I say you just bring it all out. Gunther, it's going to be similar to how some pay per views have ended, where you realize, all right, this is what we got to do. You have Travis Scott come out, and I think it's time to pull the
I don't
trigger.
think we need to see Travis Scott.
No,
I
listen,
think we're good on Travis
no,
Scott, bro.
bro, it's heel time. So you know what that means, cuz? It's time to do it all. You need Travis Scott's music to play. You also need Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul walks down slowly. He does his thing. You get all the boos, and then you just get. Could you imagine Jake Paul? Another viral moment. Logan's got to be like, look, Jake. He's got to be in the room pitching it. Like, look, we're taking it. We're gonna get beat. Everybody's crowd. I take the finisher from Jay. I take the finisher from Thing. Then Travis Scott's music hit. He comes out. Everybody's booing. Then Jay and maybe get a move on Travis a little bit. They think it's over. And then Jake Paul walks down to the ring slowly. And then he just comes in and clocks he clocks Jey Uso. And Jey Uso takes the pin. And I just think that Logan Paul probably, I feel like John Cena's like, man, there's something there with this guy. And we can make him look really cool and really put a lot more heat on him could you imagine the finishing thing that you see on Money in the Bank is Travis Scott, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and John Cena. That ruins wrestling in my mind. You get everybody talking about it. I think that's just utterly chaos to have something crazy happen. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I do see craziness. Maybe not a turn, but cause it's in LA, you could even keep it simple. The one guy comes in and just set the record straight, walks down to the ring. The Rock comes in and just absolutely rock bottoms Cody, and boom, 1, 2, 3. Just get on the mic, 3 words. You messed up, and that's it. You keep costing him. So you could do a lot of different things, but it just feels like let us have a little bit of a momentum swing on John Cena's side, and that's why I keep tweeting him: be a better heel, do better, and tweeting Triple H, book John Cena better. And boy, did they start with SmackDown. It was the best segment of the year.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. This moves us into our men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Really and truly, when you look at these names, I feel like these are a lot of, not trying to be rude, I feel like these are more mid-card names. I don't feel like there's really anybody in here who's like a super main eventer except for Seth Rollins, and he might be the leader in the clubhouse. When we go to make our picks, because there are multiple people in here, and this could go any sort of way, if you get the pick right, you get a bonus point. So we could leave here, somebody could leave here leading by 3 when all this is said and done, because we are tied at 2 for calling the card. But you've got Solo Sikoa, you've got LA Knight, you've got Penta, you've got Seth Rollins, you've got Andrade, you've got El Grande Americano. Now, El Grande Americano qualifies for the Money in the Bank, and he's going to be pulling double duty on Saturday, wrestling in Money in the Bank, as well as Worlds Collide. Stephanie Vacour, when we get to the ladies, she'll be doing the same exact thing and doing double duty. So, to me, obviously, Seth Rollins is the big name. Yeah. And then after that, it's kind of like guys who, like, Penta is loved by everybody, but he's an upper mid-card guy. LA Knight, we've kind of talked like maybe he's already reached his ceiling. He seems like an upper mid-card guy. Solo was in the main event, but then Jacob Fatu rolled in and he got pushed down the card. Andrade, since he's come back, it just hasn't felt like it's fit. I just don't know. And El Grande Americano, Chad Gable, this is probably some of the best work Chad Gable is doing, maybe some of the second best work Chad Gable is doing. Chad Gable, if you give him time and you give him a storyline, he does great work.
Yes.
Like, he is so underestimated. It is unreal. He does fantastic work. This is probably the second or third time he has been given something that has been so C-level, and he has gotten it over. And it's just, it's amazing. The fact that he's going to be wrestling in a AAA event as a makeshift luchador is kind of mind-blowing and almost disrespectful. But I think it's fantastic. Who do you think wins this? Because, like I said, I think betting money, and I think looking at the way things are laid out for storyline purposes, I almost feel like it is Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a dead giveaway.
Right. That's the crazy part, is that it makes no sense because Seth's the biggest guy, so it feels like they put that in there to swerve everybody. Is the next guy LA Knight? Is he the guy that you give it to kind of give him angles? I don't think Penta's ready yet. So listen, I'm just gonna go chalk because I don't think that I just don't want to see any of these other guys with the money in the bank. Like I don't care who Andrade would cash it in on. Penta's not mid, but compared to Seth Rollins being in it, you just need him to win it. You just need Seth Rollins to win it so that he can domineer over the rest of the card for Monday Night Raw. So I'm okay with Seth Rollins winning it. Sometimes they do tell it, but Seth's the man. He's the one that you want probably next to have the world title.
Yeah, I feel like that's the smart choice. The only other person I can make an argument maybe for, and I've got to do some stretching, and I got to do some storytelling here, would be Solo Sikoa. Because like you said, Penta, I feel like Penta, the crowd would pop hard. It'd be a huge pop. But what do you do with that over the course of possibly the next 12 months?
Well, what
are you doing?
You introduce the new guys from the bloodline, whoever those guys are. Hikaloa or whoever those guys are that come in.
Right, for Solo.
Yeah.
But like kind of working through these guys, like Penta, like what do you do with him?
Right,
I'm not sure.
right.
I'm not sure what you do. Like you said, I don't know if he's ready yet. LA Knight could be fun. Like that could be fun, but I don't see an immediate storyline anywhere.
Right.
So unless there's something that I'm missing, I don't know what you do with LA Knight. Andrade, no. Like he's probably the lowest mid-card guy in this group, in this match. El Grande Americano, like I said, Chad Gable has done absolutely fantastic work. If you wanted to give it to him, I would not argue you because I feel like that guy, if you give him time, can get stuff over. The only other person who I see as a viable option here is Solo Sikoa.
Right.
And you could do a storyline where he's going to cash in. He could go cash in on Jay if you wanted to. And Jacob shows up and costs him. And that's what gets you to the point where these two are now facing off against each other, where these two are now going head to head because Solo said stuff about Jacob. Jacob now cost him a match, as well as Solo, remember, cost him a chance in Money in the Bank. So you could use this to kind of spur that on, and then you get these two kind of spiraling out. That's the only other storyline I see. But all that being said, I feel like the best option is Seth Rollins gets it, and then he can just kind of run roughshod over Jey Uso. He can try to run roughshod over John Cena. There are different things he can do there. So, actually, yeah, and I'm going to go Seth Rollins, man. I might have talked myself into Solo there. I'm going to go Seth Rollins. All right. What I've got listed as our main event is the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, probably not going to be the main event, but it's the way it is on this card that we've got here. Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie Vacour all challenging. Like we said earlier, Stephanie Vacour pulling double duty as she'll be wrestling in Worlds Collide earlier in that day. Kind of a similar setup here, right? So Alexa Bliss comes back. They haven't really done anything with her. Roxanne Perez, incredibly new. Naomi, she's kind of a linchpin of that mid card. I don't feel like she's ever really been given a shot to be a world champ. Like in TNA, she was given that shot and she did a very good job with it. Stephanie Vacour, again, very new. I like her a lot. Julia, I absolutely love. And if you wanted to know who I wanted to win this match, it would be Julia. I think she's got a fantastic look. I think she looks incredible in the ring. And then you've got the linchpin. You've got Rhea Ripley. Who do you have winning this match? Because I feel like these two Money in the Bank matches are very, very similar. It feels like you've got a leader in the doghouse with Rhea Ripley and Seth Rollins, and then you've got kind of everybody else. And again, I feel like you can make an argument for Alexa Bliss, but that's kind of about it. Like, I don't see any argument that you can make for Naomi. I feel like Stephanie Vacour, Julia, and Roxanne Perez all just a little bit too new to be in this spot.
Yeah, right. Do you give it to Naomi? Do you shock everybody? We feel like Naomi's got things going on with Jade Cargill. Would that be crazy? Most people think it's Alexa Bliss. It's crazy, bro. I could literally make an argument for each and every person and be okay with it. Anybody that walks out with Money in the Bank, I'll be okay with it. Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea, Julia, Naomi, Stephanie Vacour. I mean, It is crazy. It is crazy to think about how challenging it is. And I've seen, a lot of predictions and they're all over the place. A lot of people like the surprise of Naomi because it's crazy, but I don't think so. I think you got to go a little bit bigger. Do you give it to one of the new people? I just think that there's no wrong answer. And I just think that it's going to be show stealing. It's going to be really great to see how it plays out. Most people are torn. Most people don't know how to predict this. So, with that said, I'm just going to go with the one that I think the crowd will like the most. I think that'll be most likely Alexa Bliss. I just think that you go with somebody the crowd would love to see have it. The visual of her having the title, I think, potentially will give a lot of people some excitement over the summer. And I just think that Roxanne Perez will get over. I think probably I'm going to go 1A is my pick, Alexa Bliss. But if it's not, I do think that there's a lot of love for Roxanne Perez.
All right. So here's my deal. I don't think that you get Rhea Ripley winning this match.
Right.
I just can't see two leaders in the clubhouse walking away
Right.
and winning. So my second guess was Alexa Bliss. So I'm going to go Alexa Bliss. If I had to put money on somebody else winning it, like I said, I want Julia to win.
Yeah.
That's who the one that when I'm watching this match, that's the one who I'm going to be rooting for. But I'm going to go Alexa Bliss as well. But I really do want Julia to win this whole damn thing. So when we kind of go back through everything, it's weird because me and you kind of pick very similar in this. The only one where we're different is I've got Becky Lynch winning. You've got Lyra Valkyria.
Lyra, let's go.
We both have John Cena and Logan Paul winning. We both have Seth Rollins and Alexa Bliss winning Money in the Bank. Again, tied at 2 for calling the card, which then brings us to our 4-hour AEW on Wednesday night. Okay. So
well, because you didn't take it all in. I took 2 hours of Dynamite and then I split it up. Like there's no way.
I had to.
No human being was smart enough to try to watch Collision after Dynamite. I know why they're doing it with the playoffs and attention and all that fun stuff. But listen, I don't care who you are. On a Wednesday, not a lot of people are going to sit through when you can chop it up. So I watched Dynamite and Collision was split up over a couple days before we talked.
I did the same thing. And what I will tell you is I felt like both of these shows played very different. I thought your Dynamite show was a little bit more cohesive, and I feel like it was much better compared to your Collision show. It felt like that second hour was just a bunch of Collision people, like people who aren't good enough to be on Dynamite. You go to Collision and you figure it out, and you're a Collision person. And it felt like it was very much a Collision show. They felt separate from each other over the course of those 4 hours, which was weird to me. Did you have the same feeling?
Yeah, I thought that All In is set up to be a beautiful show, and it does feel like there's a clear distinction between Collision and Dynamite. Dynamite has the more intriguing options, a lot more of the better fights, a lot more of the better storylines. Look, Will Ospreay comes in, and every time you see him on TV, he's just stealing the show. So it's Swerve and Will Ospreay are on a collision course. It's great. I like what we're seeing there. I like the story that they're trying to tell. So look, you do what you got to do, and look, Dynamite is the show that I think people are reacting to a little bit better.
Yeah, and you brought up Swerve, you brought up Hangman and Will Ospreay. So we got a lot more layers to that storyline. Will comes out, says he's got Hangman's back, easy for me to say, and vice versa as Hangman comes out to help Will out. And then Will ends up coming out later on to bring some chairs to help Hangman out from the Death Riders. However, in the mix of all of this, Swerve and Will come to blows pre-show, and now they're meeting this upcoming week. The question is, do they get on the same page for the salvation of AEW? And I think that is the big story. Hangman says, I will never accept help from a guy who sat there and defiled my family just to get ratings and just to play mind games with me before a match. I will never trust this man. But Will's like, look, man, you kind of need him. And he kind of needs you. We got to get all this figured out. Him and I are going to go fight. I'm going to go try to beat some sense into him. Do you see a point where Swerve and Hangman end up reconciling for, like I said, the salvation of AEW so they can get the titles off of the Death Riders?
It could be. It could be something where they have a great match and they hug it out. But I'm curious to see. I could see this feud going a little bit more intense and get to be more blood hatred where they start costing each other matches and all that kind of stuff. So I do think there's a potential for a long-term story with this. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
All right. I think at some point Swerve finally does come around begrudgingly, and I think Hangman begrudgingly takes Swerve's help, and they have just this mutual respect. Don't ever trust each other, but they respect each other, and I think that's where we'll get to. Hopefully, we get there by All In. I feel like this is a really great story that we've got going on with some of the best in this company. Speaking of the best in this company, Omega, Okada, set for All In. Both championships on the line. This is something we've been calling for forever. The question is, do we merge the championships after this? And do we have two titles become one? Because I feel like you and I both agree AEW is incredibly saturated with belts, whether it be championships from ROH or it be championships in AEW. There are a ton of titles on this television program, and nothing really feels special anymore. And I feel like that's what they're trying to do with this AEW championship. They're trying to make it feel special again, but no titles really do feel important on this program. Do we take two of these titles and make them one? This is something we've talked about a while ago. I'm hugely in favor of this.
Yes.
I feel like the less titles, the better. Where are you at?
Yes. No chance. Hopefully, there's. I don't want to see women's tag team wrestling in AEW. I don't want to see more belts consolidate. And this is the perfect one. Everybody likes it. We don't need all the stories, but we can do all the packages. We all know Okada, Omega, New Japan. Check it out. Wrestle Kingdom. Greatest matches of all time. I feel like Okada has been a foil, a comedy foil. Look, it's cute, but this is Okada and this is Omega. They need to kick this off to start to be more serious. Like Okada is 35 years old. You get 3 more years of his prime, and he probably is going to end up in WWE. So let's go. Kick it into gear. Give us a match that everybody wants to see. It's going to get 30 minutes to 45, and it's going to light up the wrestling world. So let's go. I do think Okada Omega will be in line with the talks to be compared to the matches they had in New Japan. This is where you turn me on to New Japan, and you're like, God, John, pay attention to Okada, Omega. These guys are doing some crazy shit, and it highlighted at Wrestle Kingdom, which is their WrestleMania. So I just hope the Texas fans get what they deserve, and that's an epic, epic battle. And I wonder who's going to go over, because you can make an equal 50-50 argument for both. So it's just going to be, it just has to be a great match. It could set the tone for the future of AEW.
Yeah, 3 of the greatest matches you'll ever watch in your entire life are Kenny Omega taking on Okada over in New Japan.
Ooh.
Absolutely fantastic. They told great stories, and there's a point in one of the matches where it's a 60-minute match, and it's just some of the most drama you will ever see down to the very final second. It's incredible. So this should be fantastic. Hopefully this is great. And like I said, I'd like us to try to pare back some of these titles just because there's too damn many of them. Now, I think AEW did some really good things. I thought we got a much better vignette to show and explain who Thekla is and what she's about. I gave big thumbs up to the 60-second vignette that we got, showing some of the stuff that we had over in Stardom, showing a little bit about her. If I had to read up a lot about her because I wasn't as familiar with her as I should be. A lot of different stuff from her punk singing, a lot of different stuff from her punk background, and then you kind of get the wrestling involved. And I thought this really shows and demonstrates who this person is. I thought this was fantastic. Later on in the night, we ended up getting her debut match against Lady Frost. I thought it was a good match. Going through this, I'm always like, man, I always forget Lady Frost is in AEW. I don't feel like they do enough with Lady Frost. I feel like she was somebody that they kind of missed out on. And I feel like she's somebody who could be much better. But where she's positioned very low on the card. And I feel like Thekla came out, handled business. I thought you got to see some of the cool, intricate things that she does, right? Like she ended up in the ring ropes and she looked like a spider just dangling in a web. I thought that was cool. She does a little thing kind of like Bray Wyatt, where she flips upside down and then she flips back real quick. I think that's cool and interesting. Her finishing move, again, we're not real familiar with her move set because, to be honest with you, I don't watch hardly any Stardom. You know, I know a little bit and I'll go check some stuff out, but I don't watch a lot. And that's where she's coming from. So her move set, I'm unfamiliar with. I feel like commentary has to figure out doing a better job to get different stuff over so we're more aware and make it feel bigger. But overall, I thought this was a really nice debut for her, and I thought the vignette did a fantastic job. This is what we've been talking about, what we've been asking for. What did you think about Thekla debuting against Lady Frost, and what did you think about the vignette?
Very well said. Can't add too much more to that other than to say that, okay, now you can build her character in the eyes of the AEW wrestling community, and it's a good start. And I just think that that's all you got to do is mix and match. It doesn't always have to be lights out, here it is, or botched production. You just got to tell a good story. It's not that difficult. You don't have to rush anything. That's what happens is that, and just real fast, going back to Okada Omega, you could have also slowed this down. Like, you didn't have to debut it now with a month to go. You could have just had Okada talking about, I'm the greatest champion, I'm the greatest representation of the world, and then you just have Omega just stand out there and you start to tease it a little bit and you go, man, what's going on? Are they getting to it? And kind of building it. Maybe you go Omega denying or Okada saying, I don't want to wrestle you. I've already proven I'm better than you. Like, who are you? You're just a part-timer. You could do some insults, build it up until people want it, and then maybe 2 weeks from now you could have had it. So that sometimes WWE and AEW will just say, okay, we know people want it, let's just have it. But I think they could have also built up the anticipation where people are like, I think it's going to happen, but maybe not, like the yes and the no. So a little bit of intrigue sometimes, a little bit of dangling a carrot. And they know they did that a little bit, but I just feel like they just went right into it. Okay, Okada Omega. It's like, you could also tell stories before a match is announced. So there's a lot of ways to tell stories in wrestling. And I just think sometimes Tony's like the kid on the candy store. He just wants to rip open the box and say, here's what I got, and here's what you're going to get. It's like, no. Sometimes you got to put the box under the tree, and then the kids get excited. Then you take the box away, and then they're like, what happened? You're like, what box? And then you put it back under the tree, and then you mess around a little bit. And but look, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and Tony's doing it this way, the abrupt, fast approach. But I do think with Thekla, this was the approach they needed to have.
Absolutely. And then we got a return of Ty Mello.
Mm-hmm.
She returned to save Anna Jay from Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne. She returns after 2 years being away. Her and Sammy Guevara had a child, and we haven't seen her wrestle since 2023. So watching this unfold, my thought was, okay, cool, she's back. If I recall correctly, I was not the biggest fan of Ty Mello when she was wrestling. I thought she had potential, but I don't feel like she ever really reached her potential. And then she comes back, and Megan Bayne is supposed to be this unstoppable force. And currently she's kind of stuck in this Anna Jay time warp little wormhole. Does Ty Mello feel like a threat to Megan Bayne? Because the way this unfolded, I just kind of feel like Megan Bayne needed to throw Anna Jay off the stage, finish what she was doing, and then punt kick Ty Mello and just walk out like she was just the biggest badass there. Pick up Penelope Ford, who got hit with a pipe by Ty Mello, and just leave. The way this unfolded, Ty Mello, her return and just her, to me, does not feel like she's a credible threat or should be a credible threat to Megan Bayne. Not at this point. She hasn't been here in 2 years. When she was here 2 years ago, I don't think she was all that great. I don't know what we're trying to do. Megan Bayne, I feel like, is somebody who they've got locked in this mid-card area, and she really should be higher up, and she should probably be closer to that main event. She should be challenging Toni Storm, should be challenging Mercedes Moné, should be challenging pretty much anybody at the top of the card right now.
Yeah.
And instead, she's gonna end up getting in a match with Ty Mello. What? It just doesn't fit for me, man.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's 2 years away is a long time. They got some work to do to get her to be relevant. And same thing with, look, I understand the tag team there in Texas with Dustin Rhodes and everything going on. And I just think that whole package was ruined. I think that they had a chance to be hot as a couple, and it was one of those deals where I think you had a star in the making, and you put the kibosh on it. And the way they used him, it was highlighted in a television show. Like, man, I'm winning matches, and I can't get over. And then she goes away to have a family. So you got a long way to go to be over and relevant. So let's see how it goes out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, this is her big return after 2 years. Maybe again, this might be like Lyra Valkyria, right? Maybe I need to give her a little bit more runway and essentially let her prove me right or prove me wrong. Megan Bayne, she's got a presence about her. I feel like her mic skills could get dialed up. I feel like they're like on a 7 or an 8, and if we could get them up to a 9, she would be the total package. I feel like she should be more in that main event, and to me, it just feels like she's kind of wallowing around in this weird mid card. And Ty Mello coming back to me seems like she's lower mid card. Seems like she should maybe be on one of their if they ever did AEW Darks again, she should be on AEW Dark. But all that being said, next week we get 4 more straight hours of wrestling. So if this 4 hours wasn't enough, we've got 4 more next week. Next week we've got Will Ospreay and we've got Swerve dusting it up. I'm excited for that, but I am not excited for 4 straight hours of wrestling.
Nobody would be.
3 hours of wrestling is way too much. I think this has been the one big thing about Monday Night Raw going to Netflix, especially if you watch it a little bit behind. Like I'm usually a half hour to sometimes an hour behind, so I get to avoid a lot of those weird little commercial breaks that they have. It condenses that show down so much more and makes it so much more enjoyable when it is given to you in approximately an hour and 45-minute, 2 hour and 15-minute package. The fact that we have 3-hour programming for Raw and SmackDown, and now AEW thinks it's a smart idea to give us an additional hour is absolutely bananas to me. You need to be going backwards. You do not need to be going forwards. And again, like you said, I get why they're doing it, right? You're trying to provide the programming that you said that you would provide. It's contract stuff. I get it. You're trying to work around the NBA, NHL playoffs. I get it. I understand. That being said, we don't need 4 hours of straight wrestling. We don't. Tony Khan, we don't need 5 and 6 hour pay-per-views. We don't. We need less. Less. Please give us less. We don't want more. So strap your helmets on, strap your seats up. 4 more hours next week. Was there anything we didn't cover in with WWE or AEW? I think we both agree show of the week was SmackDown. I think we both agree that was a fantastic program. But was there anything we might have missed?
Everything was good, man. We covered it. A lot of good things are taking place. Now we got to get some finishes and some direction with a lot of these programs. I can't wait to see it. Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
WWE continues their cutbacks on talent as their releases continue. On Sunday, a few more names let it be known that their contracts will not be renewed and they'll be leaving WWE. One of those announcements sparked a lot of outrage as R-Truth took to social media to let everyone know that he was departing WWE. According to PW Insider, his current WWE deal will not be renewed and he's exiting. Fightful Select noted that the news resulted in complete shock and disbelief. One top talent called Truth's exit total nonsense, and another called the new management regime ruthless. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about and we're going to kind of highlight is the new management regime. Per Fightful, this has been the most criticized and disliked departure they've ever covered by far in terms of the reaction from people in the company to the decision. Truth had been in his second stint with WWE, having signed in 2008. During his tenure, he had been a 2-time United States champion, a 2-time tag team champion, once with Kofi Kingston, the other with The Miz, and of course, a 54-time 24/7 champion. Right. That belt was horrible. His last match was recent as this past Friday's May 30th episode of SmackDown in a losing effort to JC Mateo. And look, I think WWE missed a spot here where you could have really went in on turning John Cena more heel, where you put some stipulations on that Saturday night main event match where loser leaves town, and he basically was the reason for R-Truth going away. They missed the boat on that. Carlito also confirmed that he'll be leaving the company when his contract expires in 2 weeks. It was reported by PW Insider that Carlito would be set to leave WWE at the end of his contract. J.D. McDonough noted that he's absolutely gutted. It's so hard getting close to people in the business. You never know when it's going to be the last car ride, the last hug. We love you, Don Carly. See you around, dog. Carlito, no reference was made to him on Monday Night Raw. It just kind of like he never existed. He vanished into thin air. It was like Thanos snapped his finger and he was gone. So they did a kind of a bad job explaining his absence. And then on Monday afternoon, Sarah Logan, a.k.a. Valhalla, had a very heartfelt post, and she too was informed that her contract would not be renewed. Logan was in her second stint in WWE after being released from the company following a multi-year run in 2020. Logan returned to WWE in late 2022, joining Ivar, her real-life husband, Eric as the Viking Raiders under the new name of Valhalla. She would only compete in the ring 6 times during this run, instead, mostly serving as a manager to Eric and Ivar before taking time away in WWE in February of 2024 to give birth to her and Eric's second child. Now, different reports have come out that basically said Triple H had final say over who was going to be released.
Right.
If so, that kind of sucks because we all kind of feel like R-Truth never really given anything really great, and anything he was given, he always turned a turd into a piece of gold. He did have a Midas touch for sure. Now, it does sound like this is, as Road Dogg put in a tweet that he deleted, bean counters from the corporate side, basically saying, hey, these are people whom we need to cut. Tell us who you want to cut. And Triple H saying, well, I guess these guys,
right.
When it comes down to money, because it sounds like TKO is all about those final dollars. You've seen this with the moving of WrestleMania 42 from New Orleans to, we're assuming, Las Vegas. We don't know yet. Nothing's been confirmed. That was not ideal, but it sounds like Vegas maybe ponied up more money than New Orleans did. So TKO is always looking for dollars. They are cutting back on some of their live events. We are going to have SmackDowns and Raws that are now going to start to be taped together to save on basically moving around and setting up and just cutting back on overall costs. So a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like some of that might be making Triple H mad, because there was a report by Sportskeeda that came out that said that Triple H may be leaving WWE. And I think that was the rumor that you were referring to. Sportskeeda came out with a lot of stuff this week.
Yeah.
I didn't add a lot of stuff to our news and notes because I wasn't sure what was legit, what wasn't. But you brought it up, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on TKO basically owning this company now and doing what they're doing and possibly pushing one of the greatest guys who has had the pen for WWE in years out the door in Triple H?
Yeah, no, like Sportskeeda has a little bit of a sketchy reputation. I look at it like this. Triple H is confined to also now having to work with corporate. And look, it's not talked about, but I would probably ascertain that, look, there is a melding of issues with UFC. They've got lawsuits, they got stuff. And so many people are thinking that WWE, I know it's different companies and stuff like that, but many people are thinking that WWE is funding the profits to help figure out whatever's going on with the UFC as they're blended. But here's how I look at it. And unfortunately, when a big company takes over, it's not personal. It sucks because we all like R-Truth. But I believe that now when we say bean counters, that means that you and I would not surmise that a company that's charging so much money for tickets would have a cap on their talent roster. But there's a bean counter that says, okay, based on how we want to run the business, we want to have the talent roster equal 28% of the costs of our operation. And so they say, okay, we got this person, we signed this person, we signed 9 people. That doesn't mean we added 9 jobs. That means you got to cut 9 jobs, because that means if you add these 9 people and you don't take anything away, you just added 16% to our budget. That doesn't fly with our business model. So it sucks because we don't want a business model with a company that's printing money. But unfortunately, we got to live with it. But to do it to R-Truth, I think that's bad, because now it sends a signal to everybody. Oh, yeah, we're a business now. And if they like me, great. And it's going to lend to people really looking at, okay, if I sign a 5-year deal, basically it costs them money. If you're a star, you're like, okay, I would have did it for $2 million. Now you got to pay me $4 million, because I know that at any moment you'll sit my ass at home and cut me. So I'm going to double my rate. I'm going to take advantage. I got to build a brand outside of this, because at any moment you could be cut. And it's a reminder, another reminder, like the NFL, where you're there, like guys like The Miz, Karrion Kross, older guys that have been there for so long, they could just be out. And look, that's just the way it is. I've kind of come to terms with it, because it's kind of like the NFL, where it's like, we use you when we need you, take advantage, make a shit ton of money. But if you're in WWE, you kind of get an opportunity then to try. I've seen it. Every time you see a sports card show, there's 5-6 WWE guys with 10 people in line, and that's $50 a picture. And that's just great money to be able to travel. You get a lot of equity being in WWE. So it sucks for R-Truth. He didn't get the send off, But in the end, he made a shit ton of money. He's going to make a shit ton more. He's got a lot of credible memories that he made. He turned a lot of shitty angles into stuff. He'll be fine. He's not going to be thrown on the street and be homeless. So I'm a little bit more cold to it because it's been that way now for a long time. We've talked about releases with Vince after WrestleMania. It's not new, but it sucks when you do it to a legend. And most people thought R-Truth would get the Undertaker treatment, the John Cena treatment. But I think to me, and to tie it into the work that we do with the Detroit Lions, credit to Frank Ragnow. I think it's better to get out before they throw you out. And I think for R-Truth, you're over 50, dog. Come on, man. I think you held on 1 year too long. Your last contract, you should have went to them and said, all right, I want that John Cena match to be my last match. Please give me 15 minutes. Give me an inkling that I could win the match. Give me a little bit more time. But he's a company guy, and he's a yes man. And unfortunately, when that happens, it's the age-old adage, cuz it's the age-old adage. And it sucks. It sucks. But in this case, I'm just going to end it with nice guys finish last. And it's one of those deals where you need to take the money and run and take advantage of it. But it sucks. You just have to accept it. It's a corporate-run business, and they look at how much is being spent. And unfortunately, bean counters, they're not in the business of adding expenses. They're in the business of cutting them. And I don't believe the rumor that Triple H will be out. He's a creative vision. I would be shocked if that was the case. But if those rumors are true, that there's a real feud with The Rock, I doubt it because of the wrestling connection. But I think Triple H will be there for a long period of time because of his tightness with Nick Khan. You just saw him at the event. Triple H will go out on his own terms. He'll just be like, I have a health-related matter. They'll never admit that if he did get fired. He just would be like, I have a health-related matter. I got 4 girls. I want to focus on my family. I've given enough to the company. I like this guy to run it. Rude or whoever. Triple H will name the next guy. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I agree with you. He'll go out on his own.
Yeah. With a hefty balloon cash payment.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too, right? You have to realize this guy has been able to navigate one of the stickiest backstage political situations ever in WWE. He's navigated all of them. So him running up to some white collar types in the office, I don't feel like that's going to really rattle him. I think there might come a point where he just gets tired of it and he's just like, I'm good. I'm done. I don't feel like doing this no more. And like you said, I got health issues. I don't need to deal with this shit. I'm just going to go. I think he will be there for as long as he wants to be there. And we'll just kind of have to take it at that. The thing is, you are seeing more of a heavy hand with TKO owning this company and having more to say with what you get as far as roster building, more to say with what you get for events, where events will be taking place, and how things are being done and decided. And I think that is uneasy for a lot of WWE fans because it's just different, right? Like you've never seen WrestleMania be promised to one spot and then a month later, after everything has been booked, moved. Like that doesn't happen. And that is kind of what we're getting now. So it's just new times with TKO. Hopefully there's a melding of what UFC does and what WWE does, and we can get back to being on the same page. But that's going to do it for this week's Wrestling News and Notes. Thanks for that conversation, my brother. I appreciate it.
Make sure you follow Adam on X, Twitter, at AdamRSGROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. As the shows go on, make sure you interact. Let us know what you think. Money in the Bank is Saturday night. Let us know as the matches go on. Hopefully there's some great high spots, some great debuts, some intrigue, some trolling, whatever. Let's see, because you do got to get a good payoff, and hopefully the John Cena match is a good payoff, as it's not the focal point, but it's big. I think there's some storyline development and some great things going on. Follow us at Detroit Podcast. Message. Look forward to talking and breaking it all down next week on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.